Stephen Baratheon. Lord Stephen Baratheon was a head of House Baratheon, and father to Robert Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon, and Renly Baratheon. He perished at sea in sight of his castle, Storm's End, along with his wife Cassana Estermont, while returning from a trip to the Free Cities. He was the first cousin of King Aerys II Targaryen. In history, as it is now getting about that time for Prince Rhaegar Targaryen to have a wife, Stephen served as a page in King's Landing, where he became good friends with Prince Aerys Targaryen and Tywin Lannister. Stephen participated as a squire in the War of the Nine Penny Kings. He became Lord Paramount of the Stormlands once his father, Lord Ormond Baratheon, was struck down by Meleys' first Blackfire in 260 AC, with Ormond dying in his son's arms. Stephen once hosted a tourney at Storm's End, but he was defeated in the tilts by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. In the wake of the defiance of Duskendale, Stephen's old friend Aerys, now King Aerys II Targaryen, summoned Stephen to court and named him to the Small Council. In 278 AC, Aerys sent Stephen to Volantis to find a bride of noble birth from an old Valyrian bloodline for Prince Rhaegar, and it was rumored that Aerys intended to replace Tywin as Hand of the King with Stephen upon the latter's return. Stephen failed to find a suitable bride for Rhaegar, but he did send a message to Storm's End saying that he found a very good fool. According to him, the fool was so funny, he would teach Stephen's second son, Stannis, how to laugh. On a return voyage, Stephen's ship, the Windproud, was caught in a storm while in Shipbreaker Bay, and sank within sight of Storm's End, killing Stephen along with his wife, Cassana Estermont, and 100 men. The only survivor was the fool, Patchface, who had lost his wits. According to Grand Maester Pycelle, Aerys was enraged by Stephen's death and believed it had been arranged by Tywin for fear of being replaced as Hand. Stephen was succeeded as Lord of Storm's End by his eldest son, Robert Baratheon. Barristan Selmy, Knight of the King's Guard. In the King's Guard, Barristan continued to serve in the Kingsguard when King Jaehaerys died, and Aerys II Targaryen ascended the throne. In 277 AC, during the defiance of Duskendale, King Aerys had been held hostage instead of Duskendale for half a year. Lord Tywin Lannister, hand of the king, was planning to storm the town, but Barristan offered to personally attempt to retrieve the captive King Aerys himself. Tywin gave him a day. Many songs were later made about Selmy's daring infiltration. Selmy, disguised as a hooded beggar, climbed the walls of Duskendale in the dead of night. Walking through the town's streets, cloaked and hooded, he approached the walls of Dunford, scaling the walls of the castle, and slaying a sentry before the man could raise the alarm. Selmy, through stealth and courage, found his way to the dungeons and freed Aerys and led him to the upper levels. During the escape attempt, Barristan slew 2 guards and Sir Simon Hollard, avenging the death of his sworn brother, Sir Gawain Gaunt. He and the king rushed to the stables, Selmy slaying all those who tried to intervene as the alarm was being raised. Selmy and King Aerys, mounted on stolen horses, charged out of the Dunford gates before they could be barred and raced through the streets of Duskendale to the town walls, eventually escaping. Selmy took an arrow to the chest during the rescue. After the defiance, Sir Barristan pleaded for the life of the child Dontos Hollard as a boon. When House Hollard was destroyed for siding with the Darklands in the defiance, to which King Aerys acquiesced. In the later years of King Aerys' reign, the band of outlaws known as the Kingswood Brotherhood caused problems, and the king sent his Kingsguard on campaign. Barristan fought in the battles of this campaign, rescuing Lady Jane Swan and her septa, and killing the bandits' leader, Sir Simon Toyne, in single combat. During a tourney at Storm's End, Barristan defeated Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen in the final joust and won the tourney. Like his other sworn brothers of the Kingsguard, Barristan was present at the tourney at Harrenhal. He was infatuated by the beautiful lady Ashara Day, though he knew nothing could come of his desire for her. He planned on naming her Queen of Love and Beauty if he won the tournament, but was unhorsed by Rhaegar Targaryen. Rhaegar then crowned Lyanna Stark, setting off a chain of events that led to Robert's rebellion. Selmy wonders if he could have averted the war if he had defeated Rhaegar in the tournament. He also fantasizes that if he had won the tourney and crowned Ashara, perhaps she would have turned to him instead of Stark. He thinks of the consequences of his unspoken love for Ashara as one of his many failures. Cassana Estermont. Lady Cassana Estermont was a member of House Estermont and the wife of Lord Stephen Baratheon. With Stephen, she had 3 sons, Robert, Stannis, and Rimmon. In history, King Aerys II Targaryen sent his cousin Lord Stephen and Cassana to the Free Cities to search for a bride for his son, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Their quest was unsuccessful. They did find a remarkable tool called Patchface. During the return journey, their ship, the Windproud, was caught in a severe storm. Within sight of Robert and Stannis, who were standing on the towers of Storm's End, the ship was smashed on the rocks and sank in Shipbreaker Bay. Cassana, Stephen, and hundreds of men drowned. Patchface was the only survivor. For her family, A Clash of Kings, chapter 42, and A Storm of Swords, chapter 36, state Cassana's father is the still living Lord Estermont. The World of Ice and Fire indicates that Eldon Estermont is the Lord Estermont, who kneels to Joffrey Baratheon after the Blackwater. However, Eldon has been mentioned as the Baratheon brothers' uncle and great-uncle. Because of the contradictory information, there are different possibilities for the Estermont family tree. However, this is only in theories, and of course you'll have to do some further research. Patchface, or Patches, is Stannis Baratheon's court fool and jester at Dragonstone. His face is tattooed in mottling, earning his name. Appearance and character. Patchface takes his name for the tattoos covering his broad face and bald head, marked in a pattern of green and red squares. This is the fashion in the free city of Volantis for slaves and servants. In his youth, he was a clever boy with astonishing wit. After his accident, however, his mind and body are broken. After his survival from the shipwreck, he is described as soft and obese, subject to twitches and trembles, and has a weird sideways walk. In history, Patchface was a jester slave in Volantis. He was a clever boy with astonishing wit. His freedom was bought by Lord Stephen Baratheon, who was impressed with him and intended to bring him back to Storm End from his trip to the free cities. The king, the old king, Aerys II Targaryen, who had not been quite so mad in those days, had sent his lordship to seek a bride for Prince Rhaegar, who had no sisters to wed. We have found the most splendid fool, he wrote Captain Crescent a fortnight before he was to return home from his fruitless mission. Only a boy, yet nimble as a monkey, and witty as a dozen courtiers. He juggles and riddles and does magic, and he can sing prettily in 4 tongues. I have bought his freedom and hope to bring him home with us. Robert will be delighted with him, and perhaps in time he will even teach Stannis how to laugh, unquote, by Maester Crescent, who regrets that Patchface never did teach Stannis to laugh. Lord Stephen Baratheon's ship, Windproud, broke up in Shipbreaker Bay within sight of Storm's End, while his sons Stannis Baratheon and Robert Baratheon watched. Everyone aboard ship was killed, including the Lord, his lady, and over 100 soldiers and sailors. Patchface washed up 3 days later, his naked skin white, wrinkled, and the man that found him, Jommy, swears to his dying day that the fool's skin was clammy cold. They had taken him for dead, but then he coughed up water, albeit broken in mind and body. The ordeal had taken his memories and half his wit. Now he is subject to twitches and trembles and mostly incoherent. What happened to him during the 2 days is unknown, but the fisher folk like to say a mermaid had taught him to breathe water in return for his seed. It was suggested by Sir Harbert, the Castellan of Storm's End, that it would be kindest for Maester Crescent to let the mad boy die, but he had refused, and he now wonders at that decision. Patchface is employed as court fool and jester at Dragonstone. He spends most of his time with Shireen Baratheon, Stannis' daughter, who calls him Patches. He offers her strange insights and stranger songs, sometimes touching upon what may have really happened to the boy at the bottom of the bay. Jane Farman. Janie Farman is a member of House Farman. She is the sister of Lord Sebastian Farman, the Lord of Fair Isle, and is the wife of Sir Gareth Clifton. In history, Janie was a childhood friend of Cersei Lannister. She accompanied Cersei and Melara Heatherspoon into the tent of Maggie the Frog, during the tournament in honor of Viserys' birth in 276 AC to hear their futures told. When Maggie opened her eyes, Janie fled into the night, never hearing her future. Denny's Red Wine. Denny's Red Wine is the son of Sir Desmond Redwine and Denise Hightower. He is a squire. Janie Farman, which I think we have already covered. Sorry. There we go. Janie Marbrand, that's the one I'm looking for. Lady Janie Marbrand was a member of House Marbrand, who became Lady of Casterly Rock. She was the wife of Lord Tytos Lannister and mother to his 5 children, including the present Lord Tywin Lannister. In history for her early life, the daughter of Alan Marbrand, Lord of Ashmar, Janie was married to Tytos Lannister in 235 AC in a double ceremony with Tytos' older brother, Sir Tion, marrying Lady Ellen Rainey, Lady of Casterly Rock. Tion died the following year, however, leaving the powerful Ellen a widow. With her influence then waning at Casterly Rock, Ellen tried to seduce Tytos. He did not go through with the act, but went to Janie and confessed it. Janie forgave her husband, but not Ellen. Janie went to Lord Gerald Lannister, who married off Ellen to Lord Alderaan Targaryen, thereby removing her from Castle Rock. Janie remained and gave birth to 5 children in total. In 242 AC, she birthed Tytos, his heir, a boy named Tywin. 2 years later, she gave birth to a second son, Kevin, and the year after, a daughter, Jenna. Janie also had another son, Tyjet. Janie's reactions to Tytos' rule are not known, nor the reaction to her daughter's early betrothal to Evan Frey. Giving birth in 255 AC for the 5th time, Janie delivered a healthy son, Jerry, but she died within a moon's turn. Tytos had always been known as the Laughing Lion. After Janie's death, no one could lay that claim by disputing anymore. John Fossaway. Sir John Fossaway is the Knight of New Barrow and head of the Green Apple Fossaways. He is married to Jenna Tyrell, the sister of Lord Mace Tyrell. His appearance and character is, John is described as Genial. Lord Tywin Lannister, widow and single father of 3 children. In history, Hand of the King, Tywin proved himself a brilliant administrator in the position of Hand of the King and held the post for 20 years of peace and plenty. Some people joked it was he and not the king who really ruled the land. Then, when Aerys' increasing paranoia and jealousy drove the two into several bitter disagreements. According to Sir Varys Selmy, Aerys lusted after Tywin's wife, and she was alive, which caused further friction between the two. Tension increased at the tournament in honor of Viserys' birth in Lannisport in 276 AC, when Aerys refused Tywin's offer to betroth Cersei to his heir, Prince Rhaegar. In 281 AC, Aerys raised Jaime, Tywin's 15-year-old son, to the king's guard, robbing Tywin of his prized heir. Tywin understood that the king's motivations were to make Jaime a hostage to use against his father. Set out Aerys' treatment of Jaime at the tourney of Harrenhal, Tywin resigned his position on some thin pretext and returned to the castle of Rock. As we all know, the tournament, of course, was held in honor of Viserys I. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. In appearance and appearance, beautiful, Rhaegar had deep purple or indigo colored eyes. He had long, elegant fingers, and was taller than his younger brother, Prince Viserys, would be in his adulthood. Rhaegar's hair was similar to the silver blonde of Viserys and their sister, Princess Daenerys. The hair of Aurane Waters is reminiscent of Rhaegar's, although the bastard of Driftmarks is more silvery than gold. Rhaegar's owned night black plate armor, with the three-headed dragon of House Targaryen decorated in rubies on its breastplate. And underneath the plate, he wore golden ringmail. Rhaegar decorated his home with gold, orange, and red silken streamers, resembling flame. Rhaegar was an intelligent young man who excelled at anything to which he put his mind, and grew to be a great knight and a skilled musician. The latter, however, held his preference. Men said Rhaegar loved his silver-stringed harp more than he loved his lance. Sir Jorah Mormont has described Rhaegar as valiant, honorable, and noble, while Aerys II has called him determined, deliberate, dutiful, and single-minded. The Crown Prince was said to have been uninterested in the play of other children as a boy, but bookish to a fault. He learned to read at such an early age that people jested that Queen Rhaella had swallowed some books and a candle during her pregnancy. Later in life, however, Rhaegar did acquire several trusted and loyal companions. Rhaegar was deeply affected by the shadow of Summerhall because he was born in grief and was considered melancholic at times. At the same time, Summerhall was also Rhaegar's favorite place. The prince was well loved by the people of the Seven Kingdoms during the lifetime and is still fondly remembered to this day. While King Robert I Baratheon despises Rhaegar and accuses him of having raped Lyanna Stark, the only thought of Eddard Stark, Lyanna's brother, that is mentioned in the books is that Eddard did not think Rhaegar's frequented brothels. Sir Jaime Lannister remembers the iron tones of Rhaegar's voice. Sir Barristan Selmy, who served 3 kings, thinks that Rhaegar would have been better than any of them. His sister Daenerys Targaryen is frequently compared to Rhaegar as a compliant. People who had romantic feelings toward Rhaegar include Cersei Lannister and Jon Connington. In history, for his early life, Prince Rhaegar was the first son of King Aerys II Targaryen and Queen Rhaella. He was born at Summerhall in 259 AC, on the same day as the Great Tragedy there. As a child, he read obsessively to the point that jests were made about his habits. He became a noted warrior later in life, although he did not initially seem inclined to martial habits. However, apparently by something he had read, Rhaegar became motivated to become a warrior. At the age of 17, Rhaegar was knighted and from all reports grew into a highly skilled and capable fighter, always distinguishing himself well at tournaments. Although he seldom entered the lists, he never loved the Song of Swords the way that men like Robert Baratheon or Jaime Lannister did. Rhaegar's squires were Miles Luton and Richard Lonmouth, and after he knighted them, they remained close companions. John Cunnington, whom he had squired with, was a good friend to Rhaegar as well. Returning from a trip to Dorne, Rhaegar once visited the Connington seat of Grievous Roose. His song brought the castle women to tears, while Lord Armyn Connington sought House Targaryen support against rival House Morrigan. Rhaegar's closest and oldest friend, however, was Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, trusted him more than Sir Barristan Selmy. Rhaegar often liked to visit the ruins of Summerhall with only his harp, and when he returned, he sang songs of such beauty they could reduce women to tears. Although Rhaegar was often dour, private, and bookish, Cersei Lannister noted at the tournament in honor of Viserys' birth in Lannister in 276 AC, the small folk cheered for Lord Tywin Lannister twice as much as for the King Aerys II, only half as loudly for Tywin as for Rhaegar. Rhaegar fought well in the tourney, besting a dozen skilled knights among them, Sir Barristan Selmy and Geryon and Tyjet Lannister, but was defeated in the Champions tilt by his friend Arthur Dayne. Aerys refused Tywin's offer at the tourney to betroth Cersei to Rhaegar. Rhaegar defeated Arthur in the tourney at Storm's End. When Rhaegar was born, the Targaryen bloodline had decreased, and once he came of age, there was no sister or anyone else of the bloodline available for him to marry. King Aerys sent his first cousin, Lord Stephen Baratheon, to seek a bride for Rhaegar. Despite Valyrian blood still being present in Essos, Stephen could not find appropriate females of notable enough birth for Rhaegar to marry. Jaime Lannister, son of Tywin Lannister, and 4. Deceased Joanna Lannister. In 276 AC, when Jaime was 10 years old, Lord Tywin hosted a tourney to celebrate the birth of young Prince Viserys Targaryen. During this tourney, Tywin suggested to King Aerys that Jaime could squire for Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone. But Aerys refused and named the sons of other lords to the position instead. Jaime went to Craighall at the age of 11 and spent 4 years squiring for Lord of the Summer at Craighall, alongside Merritt Frey. He would occasionally visit Casterly Rock during this time, and raged when, in 278 AC, his sister Cersei was brought to King's Landing by their father. At the age of 13, while still a squire, he won his first tourney melee. Whilst a squire to Lord Summer, Jaime was sent to Riverrun, as Lord Tywin Lannister and Lord Hoster Tully had been considering betrothing Jaime to Hoster's younger daughter, Lysa. According to Summer, the message Jaime was to bring to Hoster could not be entrusted to a raven. He spent a fortnight at Riverrun, being seated next to Lysa during meals. Jaime ignored her, however, being more interested in the stories of Hoster's younger brother, Sir Brendan, a famous warrior who had fought in the War of the Ninepenny Kings, and whom Jaime asked for stories about the war. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, son of King Aerys II Targaryen and Princess Sister Queen Rhaella Targaryen. After recent events, Rhaegar married the Dornish princess, Olenna Martell, in a lavish ceremony. His father did not attend the wedding because he was paranoid about an assassination attempt and did not permit the young Prince Viserys to attend. Rhaegar and his father's relationship was straining at this point, and he and his new bride took up residence on Dragonstone instead of King's Landing. Rhaegar and Elia had their first child, known as Rhaenys, in 280 AC. The babe was presented at court. Rhaegar's mother, Rhaella, embraced her grandchild warmly, while King Aerys remarked, "She smells Dornish." The relationship between Aerys and Rhaegar became more and more strained. Elia and Rhaegar had a son they named Aegon. Elia, due to her delicate health, was bedridden for half a year after giving birth to Rhaenys, and nearly died giving birth to Aegon, after which the Maesters told Rhaegar she would be unable to have any more children. Maester Aemon, whom Rhaegar corresponded with via Raven messages, remembers that Rhaegar believed his child Aegon to be the prince that was promised. When Lord Tywin resigned his position as Hand of the King and left court, the new focus of King Aerys' mistrust and paranoia was his own son and heir, Prince Rhaegar. At court, there was growing tension between factions loyal to the king and to the prince. Grand Maester Pycelle dispatched a letter to the Citadel, writing that tensions and divisions at court strongly resembled those before the Dance of the Dragons. Pycelle was fearful a civil war would break out unless some accord could be reached that would satisfy both factions. Jaime Lannister, raised to knighthood and to the King's Guard. At the age of 15, Jaime participated in the campaign against the Kingswood Brotherhood, during which he saved Lord Sumner Craighall from Big Belly Ben and crossed swords with the psychotic Smiling Knight. After the Brotherhood had been defeated, Jaime was knighted on the battlefield by Sir Arthur Dayne, a member of the King's Guard of King Aerys II Targaryen. Now a knight, Jaime was to return to Casterly Rock. He decided to stop in King's Landing on his route to visit his sister, from whom he had been separated for years. There, Cersei informed him that Lord Tywin intended to betroth him to Lisa Tully, and had gone as far as inviting Lord Hoster to King's Landing to discuss the dower. Cersei suggested that Jaime become a member of the King's Guard instead, replacing the recently deceased Sir Harlan Grandison. So this would require Jaime to give up his claim to Lisa. After a night of passionate sex, he gave his consent to Cersei's plan. While the siblings expected Tywin to oppose it, Cersei claimed he could not openly object. He promised to do the best, and a month later, Jaime received news at Casterly Rock that he had been chosen for the King's Guard and was to present himself to the king during the grand tourney at Harrenhal. He would say his vows and don his cloak. Jaime's and Cersei's plan did not entirely work as expected. The father, furious about the king's decision, pleaded illness and resigned his position as Hand of the King. He returned to Castle Rock, taking Cersei with him, which separated the siblings once more. Jaime was raised to the King's Guard by its Lord Commander, Sir Gerald Hightower, in a ceremony at Harrenhal in 281 AC, making him the youngest knight ever to be raised to the order. That night, however, King Aerys soured the honor by sending him back to King's Landing to guard Queen Rhaella. And Prince Viserys invited Jaime up the chance to participate in Lord Walter Gwyn's tournament. that moment during which Jaime realized that the king had only chosen him for the king's guard, the slight Lord Pilot, of whom Aerys was insanely jealous, and to secretly return. However, the Mystery Knight disappeared, and nothing further came to the king's suspicions. By being raised to the Knight's Guard, Jaime gave up his claim to Castle Rock. Nonetheless, Tywin continued to regard him as its true heir, and son was always angry to see Jaime dressed all in white instead of the red and gold of House Targaryen. Be sure to tune in for the second part of the Great Fall of the House Targaryen. After William had completed the very lengthy introduction of her father's history, Aerys II Targaryen, and as William had promised not to repeat certain things even if it's the truth, like Mad King, she looks at him waiting for him to say something. What? Looking down. Nothing. I was just curious as to what you've learned. Well, you're right. There are certain things that you probably wouldn't appreciate me mentioning because, like you said, even if it was the truth, it would probably be something that you might find offensive. I like how your wisdom and you use good judgment, William. Well, thank you, Daenerys. I wanted to do my best to put as my mother said in my world, my best foot forward. William then stands and she kind of looks up at him. Besides, I wouldn't want to intentionally offend you, and you sure you wanted me to learn as much as I can about your house, your family, genealogy, right? Your kind of watches William following him with her eyes, and he kind of stops and waits for her to say something. She gets up then. Yes, I want you to learn as much as you can, William. You have to know about me, why you sit at the right hand following in my stead. You're doing well. I have no reason to have a complaint at this time. I think you're doing well. You're showing much promise. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Daenerys. Um, Granted, I know you've heard this before. I'm only human, but I'm looking forward to the time when I read about your being born. I'm sure you're a cute baby. Well, I meant every word of it. I wasn't around then. I was stuck in my world. But anyway, I guess I can see my compliments have pleased you somehow. I always do like the way you smile. I think it's time we take a break, William. I couldn't agree with you more. I think my bum is sore. I sat too long. Again, this is something it's funny. And so they go out to past the staircase that leads to the other library and out to Palace Terrace, where William, although she finds that a bit humorous, is rubbing his right butt cheek because it has gone numb for sitting so long.